we must begin to develop, number one, and this is the most important thing we can do as a people. We must first develop an undying love for our people. Our people. Our people.
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm forced to be...
When a man is being criminally treated, that some criminal has the right to tell that man what tactics to use to get the criminal off his back. When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever is necessary to get that criminal off my back.
I might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.
Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian Williams, better known as HRap. This is the End of the Bench Media. This is a few minutes for HRap. Thank you for tapping in. If you've watched on a regular basis, this is the drill. If you're not watching live, go to www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. Watch this. There's a Black History video, a feature there created by Country Boy on One Mic History on YouTube. You can watch it there, or you can watch it at that and a lot of places there on One Mic History on YouTube, or you can watch it on my page and you can get the previous content. It'll be doing both of us a favor if you do it on there. Then you go to both. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tap in. Welcome aboard. Hello, and thank you for all tapping in. If you are watching live or not, hit that like, hit that share, subscribe. Shout out to the people who have subscribed recently. It is a great and tremendous favor and honor to bring you information on a regular basis that can be useful to you and I. Thank you. Now, before I start, I do this every day. I'd like to bring thanks to my ancestors as well as my parents. My parents are on the ancestral realm as well. They are Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there would be no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. So thank you, and it is greatly appreciated you shared this time with me. Now, with that being said, this is called Three the Hard Way. Three the Hard Way is a black action movie starring Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, and the late, great Jim Kelly. Well, Jim Brown is late, great as well. It is about fighting against the system. That's why I call it Three the Hard Way. Three the Hard Way in this instance is education, freedom, and finance. Education, freedom, and finance. The reason I called it that is because that's what they're trying to take away from us. They want to remove our finances. Then we'd be dependent. They're going to remove your education so you don't have to be able to figure out how to return that finance. And then if you don't have education and you don't have finance, there's no way possible you'll have freedom. So what I want us to understand is these are the obstacles that we're up against at this point in these United States of America. We are in what I perceive to be a racist regime that is all about domination, and they are in a destructive downward stride. You have people who are of European descent, no matter which part of Europe they're from, and they're part of the union. But what they don't realize, if you ask me, that they don't realize that they're at the bottom of that totem pole. And at some point, we're dealing with people who at all times will need to have someone under their boot. At the end of the show, I'm going to tell you what I perceive, or actually, it's not even a perception. This was in USA Today, and it was about what is called the Office of Re-Immigration. That is remigration. I'm sorry, remigration. That's what it's talking about. And they're talking about how they're basically following Adolf Hitler's game plan from World War II and how you exterminate people systematically. And then you get people, basically the plan is to get people to galvanize behind a common hate. And when you do that, what you're able to do is knock off the bottom rung, and then the next rung, and then the next rung. And then you'll have people that you are at your behest because they need you to survive. This is what we're dealing with as Black people in the United States of America. So if you're a part of the Black community, I'm speaking directly to you. But if you think it's going to stop at the Black community, you are just as foolish as the people who are part of this regime, who are not part of the white culture. Ricky Rubio, excuse me, as Secretary of State for the United States of America. But I'm here to let you know the boot is coming around. You could pretend that, hey, see, I'm fighting for true justice in the American way. Ask poor white people from coast to coast, border to border, who are putting up videos, who are going to rallies and saying, we regret our vote, because they understand now, hey, Black people aren't just complaining. But at no point, this is what I want my people to understand, at no point will they change the way they see it. Once they get the boot, once they get the sharpness of the boot off the back of their neck, they're going to go back to what they were thinking. This is not going to liberate the mind of the entire United States of America. In the event that once we're able to move these people out of the way, it is going to be a mad dash for power. And basically, we're going to put ourselves in situations to where as we can thrive and grow. And they'll still have the people at the top who are secretly trying to do away with the people at the bottom, but they'll go back to assuming, okay, well, they were wrong and those were just bad seeds. You know, kind of like when the police shoot an unarmed Black person on TV in front of the world, or choke an unarmed Black person out in front of the world, and people bring up his history. They bring up what he did wrong, what he could have done, what he should have done, what he could have, any possibility besides saying, you know what, maybe we need to get rid of all the police who have been there for 15 to 20 years. Maybe we need to just retire them and get them out of the way, and then rebuild the entire structure of the police force. Maybe that's what we need to do. And then when you make broad sweeping statements like disband the police, people only hear disband the police, they don't hear, so we can reconstruct it and put it so it'll be equal for everyone. But see, no one listens to that, kind of like with the Colin Kaepernick thing. Colin Kaepernick was protesting police brutality. A former Army Ranger told him, look, don't ignore the flag. When we on the battlefield, we kneel. He kneeled and got even more vitriol. So what we're doing, we're dealing with people who really don't listen for the betterment of their minds. What they do is they listen for triggers so they can, it's like a lot of people that when you're speaking to them, they listen for, they're not really paying attention. They can hear because God made it so they can hear. They listen so they can combat what you said. Well, see, I know he's going to say this. I know he's going to say this. And when you say one word that's connected to what they think, it triggers them. And you're like, I didn't say that. And that's the world we live in today. That's the idiotic world we live in, that people don't really pay attention. They just listen so they can respond without actually hearing what you said. Now, what I want to talk about first and foremost is education. Education is not just going to school and reading books and passing tests and regurgitating information on a regular basis so you can move to the next stage. Education is the enhancement of your mind. Education actually it assists you in the manner in which you think. People think algebra and mathematics is about the numbers. No, it's about how do I get from here to here the fastest way. Sometimes you think going all the way up here and then going down is not the way. Sometimes you think going straight, but it teaches you how to think like a clock. You are the centerpiece of the clock, or you want to do 3 minutes after one, 5 minutes after one, 58 minutes, 58 minutes after one, 45 minutes after one. It's a matter of thinking. And that's the way you need to be in the world to be successful. That's why we have prejudice. That's why we have denigration, disrespect. That's why we have sexism and all the other isms, because we only have one way to think. 1 + 1 is 2. That's the only way we think. But if you are educating yourself, like educating yourself to the plight of women, educating yourself to the plight of people in Islam, educating yourself to the plight of people in Catholicism, or Jehovah's Witnesses, or people who are agnostic, or whatever. You educate yourself to their plight. You should, as a human being, build empathy, and then you move forward. You approach them as a human being, not as a monster from another religion, and that I'm not going to pay attention to because of what I believe in. Because if that's the case, why don't you feed people? Why don't you give people who are allergic to penicillin? Because it helped you, so it should help them. No, it may kill them. And that's the way we need to be thinking. But we don't educate ourselves on other people, other genders, other lifestyles, other religions, other foods. We are so caught up in our lane. I remember, I think it was about 8 to 10 years ago, the USA Today, it may even been 5. The USA Today did a poll and asked white people how many people from outside of their culture they have as friends. 75% of white people didn't have people outside of their culture as friends. 75. So that is a form of self-segregation. And I'm quite sure if when I continue to read, I could break down other cultures as well. Here in Chicago, I went through preschool, I went through elementary school, I went through high school. I never sat next to a non-Black student. I'm gonna say that again: a non-Black student, not one Latino person, one not European heritage person of any portion of Europe. Only Black people. As a matter of fact, it was one young lady from the Bahamas in my high school, and everybody called her Bahama Mama because she was such a unique person that we had never seen her. It was almost like she came from another planet. She was a celebrity in my school because she was not from the United States of America. That's how segregated we are. That's how much we know about other people. That's how much we separate ourselves from people. This is part of education. Understanding people from Bahamian descent, understanding people from Jamaican descent, understanding people from Haiti, understanding people from the Dominican Republic, South America, Canada, Europe, Africa, Asia, and so forth and so on. That's the education that we need to be focused on, because when you are part of a culture, you have a gazillion years to add. How many people know that the Puerto Rican community is part of the Tahina community, village? That's their culture. You don't know. Most people don't know anything about them. But you see Puerto Rican people all the time, and Mexican people, and so forth and so on. Because if you educate yourself on people, not just academics, reading, writing, arithmetic, science, and STEM, then you will have, if you are a true human being, you will have less disdain for anybody. You'll understand people. You will even be willing to have a conversation to understand why they migrated here. These are the problems in these United States of America. Education is not paramount. They need you to be able to read so you can follow instructions. They need you to be able to write so you can sign your life away. You need you to be able to add, where they really don't really need you to be able to add, because they want to cheat you out the little money that they give you by signing and reading these contracts. But these are the things that you need to be educated about. And you need to use the education and apply it to every walk of life. That's why a lot of us go to work and we can't stand our supervisor, because that person has never been in my shoes, whether it be employment-wise, culturally, or the mentality of me. You don't understand, and you have no intent on learning. It's just, I know what I saw on TV, I hear in music, I see on the news, and that's how I shape these people. You are not educated on anything besides how to be ignorant. Ignorance is the #1 education in these United States of America in 2025. We propagandize ignorance. We pump ignorance out. And in my community, can't speak for another community, but in my community, we're taught to pay attention to, get this. This is metaphorically, but I want you to understand what a lot of people in my community, in our community, because primarily it's us watching. A lot of people in our community do. They get mad and say, quote unquote, they or the man is out to get me. They are not going to give us opportunities. They will try to stop us. Now, 90% of us can persevere and move through that, all those antis, right? But then a lot of that same 90%, they look at the news and say, our children are bad. Hold it. They are showing you your children. Where are all our children that are graduating with 4.0s? I got a buddy named Jeremy. His daughter just graduated magna cum laude out of high school at one of most prominent high schools in Chicago, Illinois. Where is she? I work with young people who are astute. They work hard. They don't miss work. But those young people are not there. Those people are not existence. There's a lot of people out here that are not baby mamas and baby daddies. They are husbands and wives. They are structured in their family. They're dedicated to each other from our community. A lot of people don't use drugs, sell drugs, commit crimes, things, but you only focus on that 5 to 10% of the community and at large, and I mean the United States community that participates in criminality, just like when you have jackasses like Bill Maher, who sits on TV and denigrates people from the Muslim community, as if the Crusades wasn't going door to door and killing people if they were not part of Christ. If the Crusades didn't represent the king saying, only way you can get through God is through me, and you were killed if you wasn't. If the Ku Klux Klan, the Proud Boys, and all these other hate groups in the United States of America don't use Christianity as their foundation. But he can only think what's anti what he likes or what he thinks should be. Again, you hang around 10 black people, so you think you know black people. You hang around 10 Latino people, so you think you know them. You hang around 10. No, what you have to do is immerse yourself in the world of education. And education is learning, applying, and living. You have to learn of people. You must apply the things you learn, and you must live amongst those people or interact with those people so you understand everybody in the history of this planet is their own individual, just like your fingerprints. There are no two fingerprints that look alike. There are no two retina that look alike. So there are no two people that are alike. We may be similar. You know how many people bought this shirt? Millions, maybe even a billion. So that means I have similar tastes to billions of people, but we are not the same. And that's the key to education. And they want to do away with their education so they can continue to get this imaginary white man that does not exist to hate this imaginary black man that does not exist, and they fight. And then we try to get people on our side that hate this other way instead of just ostracizing the hate mongers of the world and move around them, because guess what? Hate is going to be here. As long as there's people here, we will have negativity. We will never have the astute nature of a animal or wild beast. We call them wild beasts and primitive. They don't have the ability to think. But what I do notice is this: when I watch things like Wild Kingdom, elephants walk past gazelle every day. They even walk along with them. They don't attack each other. Deer and bears walk around in the forest all the time. Wildcats and everything, they walk around, and unless they're hungry, they're not going to attack. But we attack for no reason, no unruly reason possible. Animals put themselves in sections. Hey, this is where we're going to hang out. And then they walk through those sections, they go back to the section, and it's not a problem. But the thinking, living, breathing, connected to God beings on the planet, war, fight, and self-destroy on a regular basis. Make it make sense. This is part of education, and they don't want that education there, because as long as they can keep you acting below animalistic values, they can control you, because you're not talking to the person, you're talking to yourself. Anytime you watch things like Jordan Kelper, and Jordan Kelper is interviewing older white women, and they're saying, well, a woman isn't fit to be president because she'll blow up the world and start a war because she's full of emotions. And never mind, every war in the history of the world, just about, I would say 99% of the wars ever started in the world was started by some emotional man. But, again, she's an adult woman who's lived 50 plus years and will denigrate herself just to move the cycle of hate forward, because she hasn't been educated on anything and she hasn't learned anything. So she would rather destroy than to build a relationship and live in a different way. Finance is the next thing that's up. If you are not educated, you will not obtain any form of finance, because you'll be trained to work for others. All you will know in your life is, I need to go here to get this. Meanwhile, all you have to do is, as my homeboy Jungle Brother says, peel the onion back. 80 years ago, people would walk around this country grabbing food. They were hunting on their own. They were fishing on their own. They were cultivating land on their own. But guess what? And your finance wasn't in the grocery store. Your finance wasn't in a job. You had a skill set. You use that skill set to create finance, and you made things work. If you had a Jewish community, if you had a Italian community, if you had an Irish community, if you had a German community, you had a Black and Latino community, and all of those people use whatever they needed from the other people in order to create a finance. People don't want that anymore. They want to be able to ration you out your money. They don't want you to unite and create, because if you unite and create and you have the numbers, they think you will do to them what they've done to you. But guess what? The wicked, evil, and rotten ass people of this country that control this country, that are in the capitals of every state in the United States of America, and they're in DC running things, they are afraid because they know the wickedness in their heart. So they don't want you to have an independent finance, because they think, okay, and then we're going to be kicked around too. And they've convinced their stupid constituents to do the same and think the same. But this is what we have to stop. Again, take a step back, educate ourselves. How did my grandfather start auto repair? Well, great-grandfather, excuse me, Theodore Whitmore, rest in peace. How did he start an auto mechanic shop that became the first Black-owned auto mechanic shop to repair city vehicles in the city of Chicago? How was he able to do that? It was 3 other auto repair shops on his block alone. How was Mr. Moore in my neighborhood able to start a small grocery store? How was the Evans family on 14th and Paulina were able to do it with the store we used to call the Green Store? I don't remember the man's name. How was he able to do it? These are the things, because if they can do it, you can do it. And if they can do it, my grandfather he transitioned, my great-grandfather transitioned 40 years ago. 41 years ago. As a matter of fact, he passed away in 1984. How is it that 40 years ago, he was still running a successful business before he left it to his employees to run? How was he able to do that 40 years ago? And it was up and running by the time I got here in 1970. And when I was 14, he transitioned. How was he able to do that? How was he able to create finance to be a landowner, a property owner, housing his family, housing his children, housing his grandchildren, and so forth and so on? How was he able to do those things? That's where finance comes in. There's enough people in each and in every one of these individual communities to create their own financial stability. But we are not taught that. We are taught, do you really want to get dirt and grime under your hands? Some of us do. Some of us take a specific amount of pride in being able to rewire a home, tuck point a home, do the plumbing in the home. Some of the things are too arduous for us to do on our own because we have separate lives, but some of us take pride in that. That's why you have to have a skill set. That's why trades are paramount. Trades are paramount because guess what? If you have me, I have 4 nephews and a son. That's 5 people. One of them, I should have pushed them to electricity. I should have pushed one of them to plumbing. I should have pushed one of them into carpentry. I should have put one of them into, did I say plumbing, electricity, plumbing, carpentry, roofery, and brick masonry. Guess what happens if you do that? A lot of these homes that are dilapidated and running down, my nephews and my son, and then I could have done real estate, my nephews and my son, we could have moved in there. I could have purchased the property, have them rehab it inside of a month or 2, either move one of them into it or sell it for great profit and do it 4 or 5 times. Do it 6 times and everybody got their own house without a mortgage. You do it and you sell it 5 times and now we got $1 million. See, that's how you create finance. And then what you do is you create a store for their wives. Now, each one of their wives and my wife has their own corner store, and now we're having residual income come in on a regular basis. Now, any issues, we can hire ourselves to do it, and then we hire ourselves out to the community, and now you have cyclical money circulating through the community on a regular basis. But instead, what we said, we want 401k, we want job security, we want things. But guess what? If you do those things and you do them to the best of your ability, you've created finance inside your community. You rich instead of overcharging a job that may cost you with a wonderful profit, $250. We do what the outsiders say and charge people $800 because I got to get mine. But if you charge me $250 to do quality work and 80 of that It's just through the labor and tools. You have $125 that's yours, and you continue, you rinse and repeat. Now you have residual income, and now your name spreads. But we don't think like that. We think, I want this much money right, I want a pile of money right now. But we can no longer do that. And that's why they're doing everything. And you'll find out at the end of this what I mean by they're doing everything to do away with it, because they need you to fall in line. Understand, this country was built on the concept of rich land owning white men dominating everything. They didn't respect women. They didn't respect the First Nations people, and they damn sure didn't respect us, who they brought over here to do the work, because they had the inability to do it. They didn't just grab a million wild, crazy people who didn't know what they were doing. They went to continent and they grabbed architects. They went over there and grabbed agricultural experts, and what they did, and they mistakenly grabbed warriors, and that's who we are. I'm going to show you this piece from One Mic History with my man Country Boy. I want you to pay close attention to it. Of course, I'm not going to show you this in its entirety because it's a violation of standards, but I want you to go to his One Mic History, as you see on the page, and I want you to go to www.theendofthebench.com. Here go both options. Here go both options for you. I want you to visit both of them, support both of us academically for him and socially for me. We're gonna do everything we can to make life better, because as you'll see after I close this out, you'll see what I'm talking about. Again, One Mic History right across the screen, and www.theendofthebench.com, and where you can watch it in its entirety. Either way, I'll be back shortly. This is something I think you need to see.
May 15th, 2025. Flames engulf Louisiana's famed Nordaway Plantation, reducing one of the largest, most opulent antebellum mansions to ashes. Yet behind its striking columns and its polished chandeliers and its lavish rooms lay a unsettling truth, a history woven into America's darkest fabric, the exploitation and oppression of enslaved Black lives. So today we're going to peel away the layers of grandeur and confront the powerful, uncomfortable narrative hidden behind Nordaway Plantation. So join me today while we discuss the destruction of Nordaway. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemichistory.com. If you like audio-only episodes, you can find my podcast wherever you get your podcast. But without further ado, let's get started. To understand the dark history of the Nordaway Plantation, it requires stepping back to the antebellum era, stretching from the War of 1812 until the onset of the Civil War in 1861. During these decades, Southern agriculture experienced an explosion of growth driven by global demand for cash crops like cotton, tobacco, rice, and especially sugar. Southern plantations swiftly embraced these lucrative commodities, amassing tremendous fortunes that generated tremendous political and social influence. Sugar emerged as a particularly profitable, and Louisiana was perfectly suited for sugarcane's finicky cultivation. Rapidly, it became America's sugar bowl, hinting at the sweetness but also masking the undeniable human suffering. Growing and harvesting sugar demanded punishing labor year-round, infamous for its harsh intensity, unyielding workdays, and dangerous conditions. Unlike cotton plantations, which offered a short period of relative downtime, sugar plantations required constant, grueling labor. The planters oversaw enslaved African Americans as essential machines rather than human beings, systematically forcing their bodies and spirits beyond endurance to maximize profits. On sugar plantations, enslaved Black men and women rose at dawn, harvesting in the blistering heat with machete-like tools designed to slice through tough sugar stalks. Loaded into carts, the stalks were then rushed over to sugar mills where enslaved laborers operated dangerous machinery designed to press the juice from the harvested crops. The boiling cauldrons, powerful presses, and the constant threat of horrific burns, injuries, and even death. Such awful conditions meant that life expectancy for enslaved individuals on sugar plantations was significantly lower than on farms cultivating other less taxing crops. An awful calculation that planters simply accepted, believing that Black human life was disposable in the pursuit of profits.
Now, with that being said, as you see, This is a situation to where you may know a million and one things about the South. You may be aware of enslaved individuals and the oppression that went along with our community. Videos like that let you know exactly the wickedness of the United States of America. And if you don't understand what I mean by the wickedness of the United States of America, you know about slavery, and you've seen movies that encapsulate the pain and suffering of our enslaved ancestors. But did you think about how grueling it was just to make something as simple as sugar? They call it the sugar bowl. So because they're shipping this sugar not just through these United States of America, they're shipping it over to Europe, they're shipping it to Asia, they're shipping it to Mexico, they're shipping it everywhere, and they're becoming insanely rich on the backs of your people. This is why education is important. This is why you need to have finance that is part of your own creation. And this is why if you don't have those two, freedom is not a possibility. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is this. They're doing everything they can to reduce your education prowess. We don't need you to be doctors. We don't need you to be lawyers. We don't need you to be engineers. We don't need you to be entrepreneurs. We don't need you. We need you to be stupid employees who need us to survive. And that's what they need. But again, if you know your history, what you'll understand is this: no matter how much you hide books from us, we will overcome, as the late great Dr. King said. We will overcome. We overcame. Like my great grandmother, Maddie Mae Liggins, she was surviving off a profit of 17 cents a year and bought a massive amount of land just by backbreaking and painstaking work. She did that. And then my great grandfather, Theodore Whitmore, he moved to Chicago and transformed himself into a wealthy man. These are the things that I need you to understand, because no matter how much oppression, denigration, and disrespect we face, we still have each other. And that's the key to the education piece in this. And that's one of the things that leads towards freedom. Another thing, healthcare, care, and health. This isn't just physical health, where at the aforementioned burns at that plantation / sugarcane factory. Those burns, somebody had to treat those burns. You had to create ways to get those burns. That's why some of those people that they captured were part of the physician's fields, and they transferred them over. Fun fact: the concept of immunization that saved George Washington and his crew from smallpox was introduced by somebody from our ancestry. Yes, somebody from Africa introduced the concept of immunization that slowed down smallpox, that stopped them from dying and helped them win the war. You don't learn that they don't educate you on how important you are to the health and success of the United States of America. Mental health. If you're not stressed, if you're stressed, if you're filled with anxiety, if you're beat down, there's a myriad of ways you can do it. Meditation. I've heard this, I've read this, and I personally put faith in it. When you pray, you're talking to God. When you slow down and you meditate, you're waiting on answers from God. You're waiting on God to pour into you. You send him up and he sends down information. These are the things and concepts that we have lost because we refuse to educate ourselves on our past, educate ourselves on our spirituality, and educate on ourselves on the ways of the world. But this is one step of health, your mental health. Because if your mind isn't right, your mind is the most important part of you. Because guess what? If you no longer can walk, you will always be able to think. You will always be able to think. So guess what? Your mind is important, because your mind will tell you when it gets close to the end of the race and you're about to win. If you don't have a strong enough mind, you will quit. This is good enough, and you'll quit across the street from the finish line. Who wants to do that? That's why your mind, your physical needs to be in order, and then your spiritual needs to be in order, then your mental needs to be in order. Because when you are physically able and you are mentally able, the physical is the easiest thing. If you come from, like me, I come from a background of athletics. Sports teaches you this. The easiest thing to do is run and jump, catch and throw. Those are the easy parts. Now, what happens when you're facing adverse situations? What happens when you have to be able to mentally get through it? What happens when you are at the end of your rope and you think it's too much? You have to spiritually get through it. And I know it's athletics and you may not think It ain't that deep, but yeah, it is that deep. It is just that simple. When you can will, when you are out of gas, but you dig deep in that spirit and you have that spiritual growth and it pushes you over the finish line, that's what needs to be done. And that's what gives you the freedom to do whatever you want to do. See, people listen to people like myself and they call us radicals, they call us revolutionaries, they call us militant. And guess what? And when I give you this next piece of information, it's going to be shocking. But guess what? You can call me whatever you want to call me. What I want you to understand is this. As you're giving me these identities, they no longer want those identities there because it does create freedom. It does inspire and enact action. They need you to be like worker bees and ants. Stay in line, don't deviate from the path, and do what we want you to do. So the queen bee can sit at the top of the hive, or the king ant can sit at the top of the hive and reap all the benefits of your work. That's why we need this. That's what freedom is about, mental freedom. To have your mind in the perfect place so you can physically do things and mentally do things and spiritually do things. Finance, so you will have the protection, first and foremost, from what's going on. Because see, when you have the mental dexterity to get around things, that affords yourself the protection. That means physical protection and spiritual and mental protection. And then if you have the mental protection, you can create things to ensure your future will bloom and blossom. And then you can move forward. You have the spiritual protection that allows you to slow down, pay attention to what's going on so you can physically and mentally and get things taken care of. All these things, they go hand in hand. Now, what I want you to understand is this. Over the last 3 days, while people have been talking about Puff Daddy, while people have been talking about the NBA Finals, while people have been talking about a myriad of things that do not count and they will not benefit us in any way, shape, form, or fashion outside of a little entertainment. The president or the people who control the president are creating this office of remigration. What's the office of remigration? At the top of the show, I mentioned to you how the people at the top, they try to get people in order so they get you to hate the migrants. Then we're going to start hating the LGBTQIE because they taking your jobs and these people are trying to hurt your kids. And then guess who's next? Those wicked, evil, crazy Latinos. They're crazy and they only a step in front of those blacks. Guess what? What they really want is working class people to lay down. The office of remigration, they're going to get rid of all the people who are here illegally. We're on Earth. I didn't know you needed papers to be on Earth. But we're going to pretend that these fake colonized borders and lines on this map are real. They're going to get rid of those people because they're trying to take jobs that most Americans don't want. But we're not going to pay attention to that. You just say, I'm struggling. They're going to take my job. Damn foolery. Because what the people who are totally pumping you that information, you know what they're doing? They're pumping you that information. They're telling you that propaganda is a lie. And then they're giving the people who are richer than them capabilities to make more money while you suffer. Tariffs. Everybody in the United States federal government understood that those tariffs would hurt you. But you had people who have been elected to office who are supposed to represent you stand in front of you and tell bold-faced lies. Talking about eggs cost too much. The reason the price of eggs went up is because it was millions of birds who died due to the bird flu and they killed them, which meant it was less chickens producing the eggs that you need, which means the eggs will cost more. Has nothing to do with anybody in administration, but it does because when you have the EPA and the FDA and other entities that protect animals and the land around you, those animals don't get sick. Then you have people talking about tariffs on it. They're going to make them turn around. You can't tell me what the hell to charge for my factory. And if you want to charge me 100% more, I'm going to charge the people who I'm selling this to 100% more. I'm going to get what I'm going to get, and your people are going to suffer because they need you to suffer. They need you to suffer so you can run and get a job so you can be at their behest. Point blank, period. And then phase 2. So that's phase 1, get rid of the migrants. And then just like they did, again, I continue to reference this, Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. And I also continue to reference World War II when they got rid of the Ethiopian Jews. They got rid of the people who they identify as gypsies. I don't really know that culture, but at some point, I'm gonna have to stop being lazy and get the name of that culture. They got rid of them, and then they attacked the Jews. So you got the migrants out the way, you got the LGBTQ out the way, and then you're gonna get the blacks and the Latinos out the way. The thing is, they want to get rid of the initial plan, and you can look it up. Look up Office of Re-Immigration. Because first they get rid of undocumented people. Then they're gonna get rid of the people with green cards and visa who stand up and speak against what y'all doing wrong. Y'all are violating the Constitution of the United States of America. How you gonna say the president violated? Because the judges are supposed to be the end all be all. If a judge says this, you can take it to, if a circuit court judge, you can take it to a district court judge. If a district judge says something, you can take it to a federal judge. If a federal judge, you can take it to the Supreme Court. And if they say no, then you just asked out. And that's the way it works. But they are arresting judges. They are incarcerating judges. This is a true violation of the United States Constitution, and you have people double talking, have media training. HRap, do you like white girls? Well, I like women. That's media training. Never, I'm responding, giving you an answer. Well, it's been told to us that you don't like white women. Well, I have a woman, so it don't make a difference. Again, never answering a question, just giving you a response. That's what these politicians are doing. Back in the day, my grandfather used to call it double talking. I'm going to talk around everything you're saying. And it's the difference in a response and an answer. An answer is, do you like white women? No, I have an affection for black women. I don't have an issue with white women, but I am attracted to black women. A response, that's an answer. A response is, look, man, I got my own woman. Something came out of my mouth, but it never addressed the actual question. And then if you are opposing anything that they say, they want to get rid of, oh, you got a visa and you're not going along with this tomfoolery, get them out of the country. Guess what's next? They're going to come after people like me. And I'm telling you this. They did it with Fred Hampton. They did it with Dr. C. They won't physically annihilate you like they did with the Fred Hamptons of the world, because people want to, at some point, the truth is going to come out. These days, people can't hold water. That was the thing about back in the day, in the 50s and the 60s and the 40s and the 30s. You can kill somebody, you can set up somebody, and people kept their mouths closed. But these days, people want to be the person who told the secret. So they're not going to physically get rid of me, but they're going to either pay. It's literally in the USA Today, literally in the paper. You can probably look it up on MSNBC. You can look it up anywhere. Then they're going to get rid of people who are not going along to get along. They're going to try to pay you to leave, or they're going to incarcerate you and ship you to another country. And because you allowed them to do the migrants that way, or you allowed them to do the student visa that way, you next. Think I'm being hyperbolic. Think I'm being alarmist. Think what you like. Look it up. Look it up. The Office of Re-Migration. That's all you have to do. The Office of Re-Migration. That's all you have to do. Look it up. These people are violating their constitution, the rules that they've taken oaths to. So if you continue to go down the path you're going, you won't be enslaved, you won't be incarcerated, but you will be made a fool of. And I'm here to tell you, you will be here to be made a fool of. I'm not here to make any claims that can't be substantiated. You know, it'll be what, again, I see it on people come in my clips, and they come in my comment section. They say, well, you said it was going to be at 4 o'clock. It was at 4:02. Yeah, way to go. I wasn't prompt, but was it the same result? Yeah, but you said exactly. Have a good day, sir, ma'am. I usually don't even respond to ignorant ass comments like that, but I want you to understand your freedom is under attack. Because they do it via education and finance. And at that point, all your liberties are gone. You can continue to sit back and pay attention to Sean Combs and the people who participated in his foolish life. You can continue to pay attention exclusively to the National Football League, the NBA Finals, the NCAA Finals, or the College Baseball World Series, or Major League Baseball, or whatever entertainment sources you do. You can do that. But I'm here to tell you, they're wicked, evil, diabolical people in your state capital and in the capital of the United States that are doing everything they can to destroy you on a regular basis. And if you sit back and watch it, you will suffer the consequences. you will suffer consequences. And that's the world we're living in today. That's the country we've always lived in. And that's the country we will be living in for at least the next 4 years, because those people are in charge. And there are far too many people that inundate themselves with things that will not benefit. And you already know, every day I come on here and say this. The purpose of this program and the purpose of information that I disseminate to you is so your great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren can have a better life. And that we don't stop being entertained and start ingratiating ourselves with the laws, with the lawmakers, and the things that are around us to enhance our community, instead of saying, they ain't gonna let us. You will never, you won't. It will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I want to thank you guys for tapping in. It's greatly appreciated. It is important that you continue to like, share, support, tell a friend to tap in. And again, as I say this every day, watch this to the very end, because it's important. It is important that you do so, because these are the things, once hopefully these things trigger you and put you into a better frame of mind. And this is HRap. This is the End of the Bench Media. I'd like to say thank you for tapping in. Again, like, share, and share. Subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. See you in 24 hours.
More life and more blessings. Rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. More life and more blessings. Rise up and give thanks and stop stressing. We don't take no L's, we take lessons. They can't stop our vibe, we keep them guessing.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why